So welcome everyone. It is the full harvest moon in Aries masterclass. Shelly's here. Okay, Shelly. Oh, good. All right. We're gonna let Shelly in here. Oh, and Erica's here. Okay. Erica, welcome. And we have Aletha and Renetta and we have Melanie and Shelly. We are promoting you to panelist. Okay. And now we're making you co-host. Yes, co-host. There we go. Okay, welcome. Awesome. So it is Thursday, October 1st, 2020. It's the full moon in Aries. It's also the harvest moon. We do master classes, and this one inspires the topic around lighting your fire, sparking your inner motivation. So what I'd like to do is kind of start out a little bit with the astrology, what's going on with the moon, how we are experiencing this energy, not just personally, but collectively, because there's a lot of fire energy going on. It's pretty intense right now. And so I want to just share, this comes from Vanessa Corazon, she is an astrological insight consultant for life and business. Her stuff is really, really good. I buy her products and consult with her. She's amazing. So she says, happy full moon in Aries. Have you been feeling the burn? Our nerves are on edge. We're being harder on ourselves than usual. Difficulty with sleep, focus, and a variety of other basic activities. This is due to Mars' current retrograde through Aries, alongside Eris, Lilith, and Chiron. This full moon will be amplifying all of this Aries energy, which is also currently challenging the Capricorn transits we have had to work with since the beginning of 2020. This combined with more solar flare activity than usual, and we're feeling pushed between extremes. Aries is all about action, but with the planet of action, Mars, being retrograde in Aries and working alongside the powder kegs of Eris and Black Moon Lilith, we are being held back from taking action and making decisions. And the more we push, the worse it feels. We are being asked to sit on our hands and await a time better suited to decision making. We don't have the clarity we need, especially as Mercury has begun its shadowy preparation for the coming retrograde in Libra Scorpio on October 13th. And while this feels challenging to wait, especially when we feel so many intense emotions and our cups are overflowing with energy, the key lies in the strategy. Do you have a strategy for change? Do you have a direction and a place for all of this energy to go? Because over the past few weeks, we have seen what happens when fire goes unchecked. We have raging wildfires, destruction, and utter decimation. And while these forces are needed, when they are released without a direction and without focus, the results can be cataclysmic. You need a channel for all this energy, at least until Mars goes direct on November 13th. By then, Mercury will also have gone direct alongside Saturn and Pluto. This may seem like an eternity when we are feeling overwhelmed by the current state of affairs or internal worlds. And this is why now it's more important than ever to turn your focus inside. The goal of all retrogrades is to shift our internal worlds first so that the external has a place for the changes to solidify. We are the world is us. There is no separation between the two. So you must make way and use this energy to prepare for the changes you wish to take place. All creation is a bumpy road filled with obstacles and fears, but that doesn't diminish its necessity, and we are in that period now. Let your being be a spark for change rather than another temperamental landmine. With this full moon joining Chiron and Aries, our wounds feel raw and unbearable. Let's make a space inside for ourselves for the healing to take place when the time is ripe. After November 13th, you will have prepared the way for all the changes you desire to take place. For now, we must focus on our own mastery and step into the people we wish to become, and to reignite our passions for what we know is possible. Many of us have felt that there is no future, that we cannot envision what lies before us. This isn't because there is no future. It's because we've caught up with it. Have you noticed time speeding up? And now is the time to create it. We are writing it as we go. And we've now arrived at a chapter that hasn't been written yet. Let's decide what we want to happen next and how we want to feel. Your dreams matter now more than ever. Thank you. That was Vanessa Corazon. I think she's pretty amazing. Let's see if I have some more participants that floated in. All right. Oh, Marilyn's here. Welcome, Marilyn. All right. We have an awesome group of ladies here. It's always just very special to see who's drawn to the topic, who is drawn to explore what we're looking at today. One more thing I wanted to say about astrology and the harvest moon aspect of it. The harvest moon it's always the full moon that's closest to the autumn equinox. So sometimes it's in September, sometimes it's in October. And that's significant because the autumn equinox and all of the festivals that have arisen around that time of year when the day is equal between day and night, that balanced place, and all the harvesting happens. So in our own personal work, this is a time of harvesting. I mean, it's a natural time to begin to gather and assess and collect and acknowledge all of the fruits of what you've created this year. You know, you naturally set goals all the time, even if you don't think about it. You're always working on something, and you're always creating something. And so you do it whether you're terribly focused or not. So, and a lot of you really are, and you're really doing your work, but regardless, you have fruits that are ready to be harvested. And those fruits are like the wisdoms, the learnings, and perhaps material things too, right? Because it's all energy and it's all connected. So this is a time to gather your insights and begin to go inside as we move towards the winter solstice, which is December 21st. So about 3 months, right? So it's a time to harvest and assess and take stock. And so this lines up really beautifully today around our topic of lighting your fire. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. Here we go. Lighting your fire, sparking your inner motivation to reach your goals and change your life. So we're still going to do that, even though the advice is to not launch things, but to kind of like go inside. We still need to spark that inner motivation to go inside and do some planning, do some strategy with your spirit, with who you're becoming, where you would like to see the world go, right? So we're going to be talking about reaching goals and changing your life and reigniting some old goals that might be really useful now. And here is who we are. Hello. I'm Wendy Spurgeon. I'm the creator of the Way of Truth, Sacred Journey Portal. I'm your hostess for our full moon training. Super excited to be with you today. And supporting us as co-facilitator this evening is the lovely, talented Shelley Chase, writer and life happiness coach. All right, so Shelley, are you unmuted? I want to pass the microphone over to you. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to explore several key points about motivation. During the webinar, we'll cover the following: what motivation is and how it works, those influences that can diminish or extinguish your motivation, and a process for reestablishing and sustaining motivation once again. Before we jump in, we're going to take a minute to review some guidelines so we can ensure we have a successful webinar. Please be respectful, keep background noise to a minimum, stay muted until it's time to talk. You can see that little microphone in the corner of your little square with your name on it. That's how you mute and unmute yourself, by clicking on that. When you do speak, please say your name first so we know who's talking, and please participate, because these webinars are so much more valuable and fun for everyone when we all get involved. So let us begin our discovery. And we'll start by asking what may seem like a very fundamental question. Wendy, what is motivation?
Well, you know, often the metaphor of a fire is used to help explain what motivation is and what it looks like. And actually, a fire is a very good metaphor, because it captures some of motivation's most important qualities, such as intense passion and ardor, and bursts of liveliness and brilliance, ignitions and sparks of excitement. So defining motivation from the perspective of a fire makes sense. But what about you all, right? How would you define the concept of motivation? How do you see it? It's important that we can define motivation for ourselves personally before accepting how others define it, because each one of us is different. We can define motivation in very unique ways depending on our own experiences and perspectives. So, ladies, now's a great time to pull out worksheet number 1, creating a fire. And if you were having troubles printing it, you know, what I like to do, and I'm actually going to do this, is you can pull the worksheets up on your phone and then just refer to them as as you're working in your journal or your notebook. So yeah, so pull out worksheet number 1, or pull it up. And I want to point out that I'm sure you see that there's several definitions around the concept of motivation. So the point of this exercise is just read through those definitions and then highlight, underline, or circle the words and phrases in those various definitions that resonate most with how you would define the term motivation. And so I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for a minute. I think you'll be able to kind of zip through and find what resonates pretty quickly. So ready, set, go. All right, let's make our way back. And now's a good time to take yourself off mute. I'm going to ask for who'd be willing to share what they highlighted and why, just to get the conversation rolling here. So yeah.
Hi, Marilyn, did you want to share?
I see Marilyn has her hand up. Go ahead and share, Marilyn.
Okay, well, I'm Marilyn Alcorn, and I guess what resonates a lot with me is the phrase to be continually interested and committed to make an effort. And then a desire, interest, incentive, or drive to do. Those seem the most appropriate. And then, of course, aroused to take action toward a desired goal. All of those to me sound like how I would say or define motivation for me.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that's great. Anyone else? Anyone else like to take themselves off mute and share what they highlighted and why?
I really liked inner power or energy that pushes us toward action. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, notice that it's not going to be the same. There's going to be different words and phrases that resonate for different people, and that just makes sense because it's an energy, and we experience it in a unique way. So we would describe it in a unique way. I love the fact that we're thinking about it. We're thinking about what is our personal definition of motivation. Well, how about, do we have one more share before we move on to our next piece? Anyone else like to just pipe in with something different or something, you know, that mirrors what you heard?
I think the guy in the picture should get motivated to put some clothes on.
Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, as you can see in just this simple exercise, motivation can be defined in a number of ways. And the definition of motivation is going to vary for each of us. But the essence for all of us is the same. It's about an inner feeling that drives us toward a goal or experience that is meaningful in some way. And generally, motivation is defined as, where's my button? There it is, a driving force that initiates and directs our behavior. In other words, motivation is a kind of internal energy, like a fire, that drives a person to do something in order to achieve something. And I don't know about you, my mom used to always say, Wendy, we just do something even if it's wrong. She wanted me to get off the couch and stop watching TV and get outside because it was a beautiful day, and she just do something, get into motion. And I think that's what it is. She was trying to, you know, spark my motivation to get off the couch and experience and try things. So motivation in its best form is an internal force that makes you want to do something. And it's what drives you towards your goal. Whether that goal is to wake up early or change a habit, exercise, run a marathon, write a book. That might be something I could work on in this season. Lose weight, organize your life, get out of debt, countless other things that could be better for your life. So motivation is the key. And it's not always easy, like especially under this astrology, it just like feels so heavy, right? Day in and day out, it's not easy to keep it burning, but just like a flame, motivation will burn bright and it will grow dimmer. It's not a constant, it fluctuates. but it's always there. So defining motivation is only half the foundation of the understanding that we need. And we must also be clear on how motivation works so that we can keep it burning bright as much as possible and learn ways to fuel it when it starts to go dim. And so essentially, and you all know this, to build a fire, you need three things. You need something to burn, you need heat, and you need air. To have a healthy fire, you must know how to tend to it so that it remains strong. And the same is true to our motivation. We must know what kinds of things spark us to take action. And I happen to know that Shelley is a dedicated researcher on many subjects, including motivation. So Shelley, can you share with us some of your findings today?
Well, there's been a whole lot of research around the concept of motivation and what motivates us. And so I'm going to show you some slides that depict some of the findings from the research. The purpose of the exercise is for you to identify what motivates you most. So first, I will ask Wendy to go through the slides. And as she does, I want you to notice your reaction to each slide, whether it motivates you or does not motivate you, whether it fires you up or not. And I believe, does this, the worksheet number 2 go along with this exercise, Wendy?
Not yet.
Or not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
Just
We're
checking.
just going to go through them one at a
Okay.
time. So first we got challenge.
Challenge. Impact. Power. Wealth. Recognition. Fear. A sense of accomplishment. Creating. Learning. And contribution. So now it's time to pull out worksheet number 2, or pull it up on your phone if you're doing it that way. And notice the list here matches that the words that were on those slides. And so we're going to rate each one of these on how strongly it motivates you. So assign each motivator a 1 or 2 or 3 sparks. So 1 spark is not motivating at all, 2 is somewhat motivating, and 3 is highly motivating. There's also space at the bottom where you can write in any additional motivators that are personal for you, and go ahead and rank those as well. And let's take about a minute to complete those ratings.
All right, time's up.
Okay, next, go through those ratings that you just created and identify your top 3 motivators. So put a 1, 2, and 3 in the space to the left of those top 3 motivators. So is there anybody that would be willing to share your top motivators?
Hi, it's Melanie. Hi. So I chose creative for number 1, contribution for number 3, and then, or for number 2, and then wealth for number 3. And I also included connections at the bottom, because that's important to me too. It will be hard to pick.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That should really
Yeah,
be on there.
that would be hard to pick, because that's really important to me anyway.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have anybody else that wants to share their top 3 motivators?
This is Marilyn. Number 1, I had impact. Number 2, contribution. And number 3, sense of accomplishment. I didn't put any others down in the strong motivators, but I think I would put relationships.
So kind of the same as Melanie, because she said connection and relationships kind of related to each other. So that's excellent. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to share anything about your top 3? Or how about, what did you notice about what motivates you and what doesn't?
Well, this is Wendy. I'll share. Creativity is always at the top. And then, you know, a sense of accomplishment for sure. You know, and then but what I'm noticing about what it is that motivates me is it's intricately connected to my values. A couple months back, we did a training on what matters most. So it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm learning the patterns, right? And I'm a Cancer, which is, you know, all about family and home and, you know, domesticity and, you know, and I'm an actor, right? So the creativity is in there, and the, you know, but all of those things are also just like really just, you know, extensions of my values. Are the things that motivate me. So that was an interesting insight. Anybody else?
It's Melanie. Hi, darling. I actually was surprised because I do have fears. COVID, and in particular, a fear of debt or bills I can't pay. I would consider that I would rather, you know, zip line than have debt. But with COVID, it just seems like it's like immersion therapy almost. So that's one good thing that's come out of it. I think is that I've lost that like dread of death and that fear. So it's not completely gone. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just interesting how where I would have definitely put that as number one, if not two. It's not on my radar really much at all anymore. It is what it is. I thought it was interesting.
Thank you for sharing. That is interesting. Um, Anybody else have anything to add to that? I know for me, I kind of felt the same way as Wendy. I felt like wealth should be more of a motivator, is what I was feeling, but I couldn't bring myself to give it a 3 because I would do the things that I do even if I weren't getting paid for them, because it's what fulfills me and makes me feel like I am contributing. And so as much as I want wealth to be a motivator, I can't give it a high score. So it is funny how it kind of relates to values. So, but everyone's motivated by different things in life. And so it's important to know what lights your fire and what doesn't, because this will impact the goals you set, the reasons you set them, and how easy or difficult it is to achieve them. So now that you know what motivates you, let's continue to explore what it takes to light your fire of motivation. Before beginning to gather materials to make a fire, there must be a reason to start the fire in the first place. So what are some reasons you might want or need to build a fire?
Because I'm cold. Hungry. All kinds of reasons.
Right? Because I have a bag of marshmallows
Right.
sitting here.
Yeah. Because we're having we're having a bonfire, and everybody's gathered around it, and there's a party, and it feels warm, and it's kind of cozy and intimate.
Right? Or even what about as a signal? If you're stranded on a desert island and you see a ship in the distance, you might want to be able to start a fire. Or the Native Americans used to use it to send smoke signals. They had a code for that. So yeah, lots of different reasons to start a fire. When building a fire, there is usually a goal for the fire. Hopefully, the fire will accomplish something for us. And the same is true of goals we set for ourselves. So our goal is to accomplish something that will better our lives. Additionally, our desire has to be strong, so we will achieve our goal. Certain things must be true about our goal in order for it to truly motivate us. It must be driven by desire to attain something that you truly want. It must be in alignment with your values. It must be compelling enough that you are willing to push through the status quo to pursue it. And you have to believe in your goal enough that it motivates you into action. So now is a good time to pull out worksheet number 3. And that fire, that cute little picture of the fire at the top, represents a goal that you have achieved and the motivation that spurred you on to achieve it. So we want to identify a goal that we've already achieved that was meaningful in our lives. So that's number 1. And once you figure out a goal, then number 2 is, what was your motivation for achieving that goal? Was it being challenged? Was it to have a sense of personal power? Was it to learn something new, to be recognized, or was it something else? And let's just take a minute to answer those top 2 questions. So we said that the goal needed to be compelling enough to spur you into action. So you had to take a first step, just as you must take the action of putting a match to the logs to start your fire. So number 3 on the worksheet is about the actions that you took toward the goal. So think about while you were accomplishing that goal and what actions you took. And let's take a minute to write those down. So is there anyone that would be willing to share what kind of goal it was that they achieved, why it was so compelling for you, and the steps that you took to reach it? Melanie?
Yeah, I'll share. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I never know with this thing. So, of course, some of you know about me driving after 13 years. And I was watching my kids start driving, my friends doing all these fun things, and me always trying really hard to work around everyone else's schedule to drive me where I needed to go. And that was starting to hurt more than I was afraid to drive. So it was like that feeling of being just left behind. And it was definitely because of a strong desire to regain my personal power. And the steps that I took, I passed my written exam, just like my kids, I had to go through all over again. I cried behind the wheel without driving for a while. I sat in the driver's seat. After a few times of that, I cried while driving in an area that was far away from everyone, like just, these dirt roads going around. I did that and just in slow baby steps, got more comfortable with other cars around me. And I'm not saying I'm comfortable all the time, even now, but like I have to go to dimming, and normally Jerry would go with me, like a security blanket, but I'm going with just my mama. So we'll see how that goes. It's silly, but I'm a little bit nervous.
That is not silly, Melanie. That is amazing. Congratulations on that. know that my sister is, you know, a full-grown woman who still doesn't drive, and she wishes she could, but when you wait a certain length of time, it's really,
Yeah,
it gets more and more daunting.
yeah. I got hit by a Mack truck. It broke my car in half, set it on fire. It was a miracle to walk away from it. I remember like it was yesterday still. But that was a goal that changed my life. You know, I'm so happy I did it. Even though it was really, really hard, I'm so happy I did it. I still won't like drive downtown. Like I'll park at the visitor center and just walk. Here we go. More baby steps. It'll all come together eventually.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome, Billy.
So I think that was, you actually just answered number 4 for us too. But number 4, everyone, on the worksheet is about the results that you experienced in your effort to pursue your goal. And then number 5 is what kept your fire going. So go ahead and take another minute to complete those last 2 questions on the worksheet. Okay, does anyone want to share about those last 2 questions before we move on?
I could pop in. It's Wendy. So I was really pursuing my passion. I mean, that's really what ultimately, allowed me to come to completion in that journey. But I wanted to be a professional actor. Didn't know anybody who was, but was inspired and took a big leap with a lot of safety net involved. I moved from Alaska to Oregon, but really only because I knew I had a place to live, right? I mean, it was like, it was real scary, and then, and I stumbled, right? There were years that I quit from my degree, but then I came back. And I think what really, gosh, what kept me in pursuit of the goal, it started with fear. I'll be honest. It's like, I didn't want to become a statistic. I didn't want to be a girl in Alaska who didn't pursue her dream and got, knocked up and, or married to some terrible guy and never pursue my dream and be stuck, right? I didn't want, I just wanted out, right? There was a fire. And, and what ultimately, it's like, it was something I needed to prove to myself that, yes, I could actually do that. Even though I didn't know anybody who had ever done it, I could actually make a living and support a family, which is ultimately what happened in this really risky career path. But what kept my fire going, I think, is just the sheer love of it, because it was just, some things are just inherent to who you are and what you're here to do, at least for a season. And then it was like time to explore something else, and a new fire was sparked. But and then Renetta and I were having we were doing a class yesterday on the meaning of life, and the gist we got to is, it's about experiencing things. It's about trying. It's about going, what if I could do this? And then trying it out, and then going, wow, that's pretty cool. Now what else, right? I think, that's getting back to that real basic truth of who we are, that we're born creators, we're born experimenters and triers, and we have an insatiable love of learning, a craving to learn new things and experience ourselves in new ways. So yeah, I think that's my answer to that. Sorry if I rambled on too long. Love you. I'm done.
That was excellent. Thank you, Wendy. Anybody else have anything to share? Well, in order to stay motivated to work toward a goal, the goal has to be compelling. It has to be in alignment with our values and beliefs, and it has to be meaningful enough to persevere through the lulls. We also have to experience meaningful results in order to keep the fire of our own motivation going. Sometimes, though, the effort is hard to sustain and we begin to lose motivation. So next, we're going to investigate the reasons why our flame dies out and how to keep our motivation going. Wendy, take it away.
All right. So I think you see the screen up now, and you can see that the fire's dying down. And so, as we did before, just popcorn it out. What are some reasons that a fire begins to wane?
It's not being taken care of. It's not being tended.
Right. Yeah. It's not being stoked. Could be raining. Could be wind. Could be a lot of things. It's not getting attention. It's not moving.
Right. It runs out of fuel.
Right.
Also.
Not getting oxygen. It's not being fueled or nurtured. Our own motivation is just like that fire. In the beginning, it's burning strong, but then it may start to die down. So why does our motivation wane? What do y'all think? Pop in.
I know for me, my motivation wanes once I realize that there's a limit. If I see a potentiality to just grow and keep moving and learning as far as I want, then I can't imagine ever not wanting to keep doing that. But once I see the end, there's no need for imagination, there's no need for anything, and then I just lose interest. It just putters out. So it's got to be an impossible place. Yeah. It's like there's nothing left to burn. It just putters out.
Right. Yeah. What might be some reasons that you can think of? Maybe the results are too slow. Maybe this happens a lot, actually. The goal feels externally driven and not internally driven. Like, the reason I have for the goal is because I'm making this up, I have this lineage of lawyers. I don't, but like my grandfather and my grandmother were lawyers, and my mother and my father and my brother and my cousin, and everybody is a lawyer. So the goal for me to be a lawyer is sort of externally driven. it's an expectation from outside of myself, as opposed to being an authentic desire from who I am, from who my spirit is calling me to be, which may not necessarily be a lawyer. And some
So
other,
Wendy,
yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to throw something in. I think that this is a big reason why most New Year's resolutions fail. And that is because people say, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to exercise and eat right, and I'm going to lose weight this year. And but it's because they're wanting to lose weight so that they're attractive to other people. They're wanting to lose weight so that other people will admire them. And it's not got anything to do with what they want from inside their heart. So that's exactly, I think that's the biggest reason why goals fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's not authentic. It's not a true desire from that we have for ourselves. Um, sometimes the effort feels too hard. You get tired out. But that can also be kind of a sign that you're not quite in alignment, right? Exactly. Because if the effort feels too hard, then it's not something you really want to do. And in that situation, you can delegate. Like if you still like the foundation of the goal is something that's worth pursuing, but you can delegate the parts of it that aren't in alignment with you. Or we always have permission to say, you know what, that was a good try. That was a good try. I did not come to completion, but I learned a whole bunch. This is something I want to try now. And we're kind of in that place in our evolution of just getting really real and authentic with ourselves, and letting go of the belief that if we change our minds, someone else is, whatever, they're going to be mad at us. We don't want to do it. There's all kinds of reasons why the fire dies out. But I think, perhaps a core component is that it's not an alignment, or we've kind of run our course with it. It's just time to shift in another direction, because that's what we're called to do. We're called to explore and be all that, stretch and discover all of the possibilities. So this is a great conversation, and I want to kind of keep us in motion here. So let's go ahead and take out worksheet number 4, the fire that faded. And I want to ask you to take a few minutes to think about a goal that was once important to you, but that you didn't complete. So when you think of it, just go ahead and jot that down. And then think about what doused your motivation to continue. Did other things take over importance? Was the effort too hard? Were the results disappointing? And we're going to take a minute to work on that. Actually, yeah. Ready, set, go. All right, and let's start to come back. All right. So do I have some volunteers? Anyone who'd like to share their goal and why their motivation faded? I can certainly share too. But who's up? Who wants to step up to the mic and kind of share why that goal faded and what's in there? All right, Melanie. Yeah, would you like to share?
I'm sorry. I hope I'm not taking over.
No, we went your voices, all of your voices, but yeah, so happy that you're sharing.
So I recently had a goal of becoming an insurance agent. And it was funny how you said, that things have to align with your personal values. And in selling auto insurance or selling probably houses too, I don't know. Some things that they wanted me to do, I was not comfortable with doing that. I don't want to lie by omission, and not only lie by omission, but not be straightforward, and just have a truthful conversation. You have to be that slick, smooth talking, and that is not who I am. So yeah, it really didn't align with what I believe to be an authentic conversation about insurance. I didn't like it. So, but part of learning who you are is knowing what you're not.
Right.
So, it wasn't always.
Wow.
I am not an insurance agent.
You tried, and you tried.
Yeah. I can write that off the list now.
Yes. Brilliant, Melanie. You have infinite potential. So I'm behind whatever. You're gonna send some Reiki energy there.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That was a powerful share. Who else would like to pop in? Well, perhaps you summed it up, Melanie. Perhaps you just got to the root of it. Yeah, I think that's when something doesn't feel right, you can't do it. And when you force yourself, it's so hard, right? There's something.
Yeah, it feels awful. It's an awful feeling. Your heart and your mind have to match, and it took this for me to really understand it. And the stuff we've been talking about, like being our authentic self, gosh, that really hit home too. I was like, this is not me. This is not authentic to who I am. I mean, it was a great learning experience. Definitely.
Sure. Yeah, and I think there's you're recognizing and harvesting the gifts from that experience, those learnings, and you just never know when those things you learned are going to come in handy in the future. So when I think about it that way, it's like we never actually fail. We master a myriad of skill sets that we may or may not ever use. I mean, I know folks who are life that they're always in school. They're always getting the next degree or pursuing the next certification. And we can become great certification collectors. And we've got this whole like basket of amazing things. And then we don't actually use them or, you know, share them. And because but now we're shifting, right? In the new year, we don't even know what we don't even know, right? So it's a good time to like just really harvest the learnings and the gifts and recognize the skill sets, and be on the lookout for how you can use what you know to help others, right? When in doubt, help the person in front of you. I don't know what to do. At least get some emotion, and something happens from it. It sparks something in you. So I
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so just like a fire, motivation needs tending in order for it to stay strong. It's important to know yourself well, to know what will distract and discourage you, and how to protect your goals from losing their spark. And I'll just add in there, sometimes you need to change your environment. Sometimes you need to get away from naysayers and people who sap your energy, so that you can shift your thinking. And it's just as important to know what fuels you to keep your own fire of motivation burning. So we have to, you know, discover the joy of self-care, and and really, you know, commit to those practices that nourish our health and our energy. And one of those things I love, I don't know if any of you ever did the Artist Way series, but Julia Cameron, one of her things is take yourself on artist dates. Just you, not anyone else. Make a date with yourself. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but go to a museum. Go, you know, walk in a different path. Do something. Go see an art film. Do something that is out of the box. It's special, and it's a date that you commit to, and you're bringing in inspiration, right? That's a really powerful thing to do to keep the fire of motivation burning. And it seems counter to what our culture and society would say, or our culture would say, you need to keep the nose to the grindstone and be constantly working and focused on that thing. Well, sometimes we need a break, and we need to stretch, and we need to allow new creativity to flow in. And we do that by shifting up our environment and our experiences and giving ourselves permission to enjoy it. Beauty. So even when we know what fuels us and what douses our flame, the fire can still diminish and almost go out. But the good news is that we can rekindle the fires of goals that were once important. And you know what? In the new year, there might be a goal that you might want to dust off. Depending on what's happening, it could be really useful. So kind of taking stock of these things is pretty smart. And so next we're going to examine a process for rekindling the fires of goals. But first, we have some special offerings that we want to let you know about. First of all, da-da-da-da, there she is, Shelly Chase. She's doing this amazing service here at the Way of Truth. It truly is a service. It's creative morning magic. I want to let her tell you more about it. It is free. Donations are always welcome, but this is a free Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Creative morning magic miracle. So Shelly, please let us know a little bit more about this.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So I was involved in doing these certain activities every morning. And once that became a ritual for me, everything in my life started changing, and I was able to accomplish my 2020 New Year's resolution, which was to quit my day job and work 100% in the field of coaching and inspiring people. And it was because of doing these certain practices every single day. So with Creative Morning Magic, what we do, and we squeeze them all in to 30 minutes so that anybody can find time, 30 minutes a day, to really change your life. If this was all you had to do, it would be worth it. So the first thing that we do is we work on raising our vibration, because we're all vibrational beings. And when we're vibrating on a low frequency, we are attracting things into our life by default rather than by intention. So we raise our vibe so that we can intend the way we want our life to go. Then we meditate, quiet our minds so that we can hear those important messages that the universe is always whispering to us. And our mind is so full of chatter that it's really hard to hear those messages. And then the third thing that we do is a little bit of journaling. And the fourth thing is visualizing what we want our life and ourselves to be like. And so if you can take a few minutes every day to do those exercises, everything in your life, in every area of your life, is going to begin improving. I am living proof of that fact. And so I encourage you to join us. It's absolutely free. There's no sales pitches or anything. We get in there, we do the work, and then we get back out again and we go on with our day at a much higher vibe than when we began. So I invite you to join us.
Thank you, Shelley. And I 100% recommend and refer this all the time. So you just go to thewayoftruth.live/magic. And in fact, just bookmark that page. That's where you enter the meeting every morning. There's just a button. I made it one button easy. Click a button, you're in the meeting. And there's also some other goodies on that page as well. So check that out, and I love it. It's just thrilling. It's motivating. It keeps me going. It's brilliant. Let me go to the next slide. This is more free, wonderful things, and incredibly valuable. So every month I hold a new moon sister circle, and it's actually synchronized with sister circles that are meeting live and in virtual groups all around the planet. The curriculum we use is translated into several different languages. So it's this coordinated, amazing way to, again, raise your vibration and set in a global intention. And every month there's a new theme. So the next one coming up, October 16th, is in Libra. Our theme is restoring balance. I heal the masculine and feminine within. And so the way you get registered for that is you go to thewayoftruth.live/sisterhood. And once you register, then you're going to get, if you can't make it, you will get a replay so you can meditate on your own time, and you'll get a heads up about next month's theme, and you can add that to your calendar. And just like the daily practices, these monthly practices are changing us, and we're being in motion. Do something even if it's wrong, but it's not. It feels so good and focused and intentional. And we have a really good time. It's just a beautiful circle of women who are attracted to this. So, and then last but not least, it's an amazing month. So there's a full moon today on the 1st of October. There's another full moon. It's actually on Halloween. But we're going to have our next full moon master class on October 30th to avoid, any family obligations. If anyone is, I was thinking trick-or-treaters, or they're probably going out, they're wearing masks, right? They can do that. But so we're going to have our next full moon master class on October 30th. And it is the hunter's moon. The hunter's moon always follows the harvest moon. So sometimes that's in October, sometimes it's in November. And it's in Taurus, and our theme is ensuring life harmony, resolving conflict and creating positive change. And I think we could all use some of that, some conflict resolution. So so you can see the link for that is thewavetruth.live/harmony. So I try to make it easy for people. Basically just, remember the one word at the end, maybe write down the date. And then, so the quick, I'm not even call this a sales pitch. This is the next intensive training because there is the free services, but actually I do have private clients, and I do have members that want to go deeper and really get that guidance. And this is an amazing opportunity. I only do it once a year, and it is I'm gathering courageous warriors of love who want to kind of do a deep dive immersion into this material. Some of you may know Debbie Ford, some may not. Courage, overcoming fear, and igniting self-confidence. So it's a 5-month immersion. It's deep work. So if you don't know what to do with your time as you're going inside towards the winter solstice, this would be a valuable thing to give yourself. So lots of details around that I'm not going to get into, but basically it will be available between November and the end of March. Takes about 5 months to move through this material because you go pretty deep. So to schedule a free sample session to check it out and schedule a conversation with me about those details, go to thewavetruth.live/courage. And what I'll tell you, if money would be a reason why you wouldn't want to do something like this, we have some pretty competitive COVID pricing, which means I am embracing the ancient art of haggling, because it's so important that these experiences and resources are made available. So so go to that link and schedule a call with me, and we will figure out something. And so that's what I wanted to share about that. Let me, all right. So write down the link, go there after the webinar, grab these special offerings, and now to the final leg of our training. I'm gonna pass it over to you, Shelley.
Thank you, Wendy. So now that you know what motivates you and some of the things that can occur to weaken your motivation, let's learn a process for rekindling your motivation so that you can successfully achieve goals in life that are important to you. So if you would please pull out worksheet number 5, which is titled The Steps to Rekindling. And I'm going to share a short little presentation on the steps to rekindling. And if you would just take notes on worksheet number 5. And let's see, notes should include key points that you feel the most strongly about. And after I finish this little short lecture, I will ask you to share the points that were most meaningful to you. So this is all about the steps to rekindling. Although the fire of your goal has waned, it has not gone out completely. Imagine that you can still use this fire. You can still get it going again. Maybe you need more kindling or to blow on the burning embers, or maybe you need to move the logs around, or probably all 3. Once you've determined what the fire needs, you can create the flame again and bring it back to life. The same is true for our motivation. There are 6 steps we can take to bring a goal back to life. Step one in the process of rekindling the fire of your motivation is to restate your goal, your original goal. Step two is to acknowledge its importance. So ask yourself, is it still important to you? Will it make a difference in your life? Does the goal meet the criteria of being compelling enough for you to act and to challenge your status quo? Or in other words, how things are currently going in your life. Step three is to determine your motivator. What motivator is operating for you right now? So are you motivated by position or wealth, power, learning, a sense of ease? Step four is to acknowledge progress. So this means progress you made when you originally set out to accomplish the goal. So note how far you traveled toward your goal when you first pursued it. If your ultimate goal was to run a marathon, for example, did you run half a marathon? If you wanted to lose 10 pounds, did you lose 2? In rekindling your motivation, it's important to acknowledge that you are not going all the way back to the beginning and starting from square one. You already made effort and you already made progress. You gained new knowledge and experience. You have a leg up. In step 5, you put supports in place. Determine how you will keep your motivation high. So in order to do so, first identify why your motivation waned in the first place. Was the goal unreasonable? Were results unsatisfying, or did they take too long? Did other priorities get in the way? And strategize what you'll do this time to keep your motivation high. Will you have more reasonable expectations for results? Will you pace yourself better? Will you make sure you celebrate each small success? Step 6 is to determine action. Decide on a reasonable first step you will take. So what is the action or set of actions you'll take to resume working toward this goal? If the marathon was your goal, but you've not been running consistently, perhaps you would reinstate a routine. Ask yourself, is the effort I'm making sustainable? Can I see this effort through to the end? Make sure your plan is reasonable and your effort is sustainable. Make sure you give yourself every chance for success. So I'm going to give you a minute to solidify your notes, but I want to add a couple of little points to this that were not previously mentioned. And so number one is that it really, really helps to chunk your goal down into little itty bitty baby steps. Because if you're staring down this gigantic goal, and of course you're able to accomplish it, but when you're looking at it as one gigantic goal, it seems daunting. So chunking it down into itty bitty baby steps is a way to make it much more doable. And the other thing I want to say is that rather than just taking action, it's much more effective to take inspired action. And that's why we do creative morning magic every day, because that inspires us. And when you're inspired, you are so much more likely to be effective and to be successful in the steps that you do take. So on that note, does anyone have anything to share? Do you want to share what was the most meaningful about that little mini lecture that we just listened to?
You know, this is Wendy.
Anyone?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, okay. I love that. Yes. You know, staying inspired, nurturing that flame, and creative morning magic definitely does that. That's why I love it. It just makes my whole day like riding that wave, that creative wave. And another thing on this list that really stands out for me that I don't think that we do enough as a culture, because we're always trained to look for what's wrong and not really look for what's right, and not really acknowledge our progress, because somehow that's bragging, so that's made wrong. But acknowledging progress is it's the mirror of affirmation. It's us telling ourselves, yes, you made change. You can do this. You do this all the time. And even the little baby steps, and acknowledging them out loud to yourself or to your coach. A lot of times in our laser coaching calls, the first thing we talk about is, what were your wins this week? What happened this week that you're really happy about? Right? What did you accomplish? Right? And everyone is able to speak to something, and it gets you into that vibration and that willingness to look at the challenges and how you might brainstorm around that, and what new commitments you could make, or how you could tweak your current action steps so that they're more realistic and doable. So but that's a really important piece, and inside of this coaching community, you can have that kind of support to help you make those shifts and help you learn how to and practice acknowledging your progress. I'm complete. Anyone else like to pop in? Would love to hear your insights. All right, then. We're just kind of a spongy group. We're just sort of like taking it all in. I visualize you all just like taking notes and making some some personal observations, and I'm loving that. So Shelley, I think we could go ahead and just transition to the next topic. You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to share is it's encouraging to know that we can rekindle any goal that may have lost its flame. And the 6 steps that we just explored with Shelley can always be used to help you get back on track. And so now that you have this powerful tool for rekindling your flame of motivation, let's apply these steps to a personal goal that you would like to fulfill. So I'd like to ask you all to pull out or pull up worksheet number 6. It's called a personal rekindling. And so again, I want to ask you to think about a goal that you stopped pursuing, the one that you identified in the last section, which is still important. A goal that you stopped pursuing, but it's still important. And I want you to write the goal down in the space provided there on the worksheet or in your work on your journal. And then once you get that written down, I'm going to ask you to identify why this goal is important to you now. What is different about the circumstances or what you understand about yourself or the importance of the goal? Is there anything missing from your life because you haven't pursued this goal? Something that you always really wanted. How will your life be impacted in the future if you don't pursue it? How will you feel? Sometimes I lead a visioning exercise where we imagine ourselves about to pass over, right? And thinking back upon our lives and the things that we want to make sure we accomplish to feel like really complete and ready to transition and transform. So I want to give you just about another minute to complete this step on your worksheet before we go to step 3. And now for step 3, reflect on your current motivators to achieve your desired goal and write your answers in the space provided. Let's take about another 30 seconds. You may have already done it. And then when you're complete there, go ahead and move on to step 4 and write down any progress you made when you first set out toward that goal, right? If you were shooting for 10 pounds, but you had 2, like really acknowledge what you did achieve towards that goal. And when you're complete there, move on to step 5. Reflect on why your motivation waned in the first attempt and what supports you'll put in place to keep yourselves motivated this time around. And then finally, step 6. Identify what action you'll take first to recommit to your goal. So that might be something just as simple as writing it down on your calendar by when you'll have, this first step done towards your goal, right? Writing it down is an important way to commit and to taking that first step. And just to bring this process to completion, you may need more time. What's challenging me about this format is I can't see your face or read your body language. But I trust that you will take more time with this exercise if you need after we're complete. But the rekindling process it's so powerful for refueling our motivation to achieve our goals. And we have a much greater chance of success if we know why we are pursuing the goal and have a proper plan and supports in place. And you know that you can rekindle the fire of your own motivation if the goal is still important to you. And then all it takes is commitment and action. And it's important for us to understand how best to tend to our fire of motivation. We need to know what sparks us, why we lose our motivation, and how we can ensure that it stays high. So Shelley, why don't you take us into the home stretch, the final piece of our training tonight?
Well, let's complete today's training by taking a moment to reflect on what we've learned about our own motivation and how we will use the rekindling process in the future. Throughout today's training, we've examined the fire of motivation, what motivations are strongest for us, what douses our flame, and how to rekindle goals that are important to us. So now, just take a moment to reflect on what you've learned about your own motivational fire. Turn your thoughts to the image of the match on the slide, and notice that quote by Winston. He says, "Success is not final and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." So notice that image of the match and imagine your flame being strong and that you're in a state of super high motivation. What words come to mind when you imagine what's motivating you so strongly? So imagine if you were just absolutely super motivated right now. Try to get a hold of that feeling and think about what words come to mind when you imagine being really, really motivated. And if anybody would like to unmute and share their thoughts on that. Anyone?
Yeah, peace is motivating me. I want peace in the world, and I want peace inside myself, and I want harmony. These are things that are really motivating me right now.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everyone. So going forward, you know now what motivates you and what gets in the way of your own motivation. And now you have tools to rekindle any goal that's important to you. So I want to thank you all so much for being on the training with us today and for your valuable participation. We really appreciate it. We love having you here and gathering with you in these masterminds. We really appreciate you coming. And that's it for tonight. So thank you all so much for joining us on this Harvest Aries Moon Masterclass. And we hope that this was really valuable for us, for you. It was for us,
It was
certainly.
definitely valuable for us.
Right.
Speaking of value,
Cindy.
I'd love to
Thanks,
give you
Cindy.
a sample session call if you haven't written that down. Was somebody else popping in to say thanks and goodbye? I love
I
y'all.
think Marilyn.
Yeah, that was me. I was just you guys.
Yay. Thank you all, everyone, and enjoy this Harvest Aries full moon. And I hope to see you in the morning magic sessions and on the new moon and the full moon and all over the place, because it's just we go farther together. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.